Dinner's ready. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Grimm Art of Cooking. My name is Theresa Grimm. I know you guys have gotten more accustomed to seeing my husband Todd standing here, but for the new year we decided to do an entire different series of videos, which is going to be me cooking, because for our family I've always done about 90% of the cooking. However, most of the videos that you have been seeing so far, with Todd doing the bacon and the corned beef, like what we have tonight for our Reuben Casserole that I'll be showing you how to make, Todd does that, and then I take and use all of that he does in our nightly cooking. So we're going to start off with some cooler weather things, because yes, even in Arizona we get cool, and no, I'm not a wimp, so don't even call me that. But when it gets cooler weather, we all start craving those soups and the casseroles. So this video series, we're going to start doing some of those. Like I said, tonight we'll be doing our Reuben Casserole, which is a comfort food. It's that thing that after a cool day, and as you get into the evening and everybody's done with their day of work, they come home, they settle in, and they want something that just is going to make them feel nice and warm. So we're going to finish getting everything around, and we'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Welcome back. So what we're going to do here is you're going to get a 13 by 19 pan, and you're going to pre-spray it with whatever it is that you use to spray it, because you don't want this to stick. And this is really simple, and it's really fast. It's really good too if you have leftover meat. So you did a corned beef the night before and you just got some leftovers, or you've got some beef. So you get a puff pastry, your favorite kind. Easiest is all one sheet, and you put it in the bottom of your greased 13 by 19 pan. Get it spread out. And this is just the first step of this, because this part has to bake before you do anything else. So once you have it in there and you've got it, kind of push it up on the sides too, because eventually what you're hoping to is to create the seal of the entire casserole. So once you're done, put this in the oven, cook it for the amount of time that's recommended, and that's all you got to do for this very first stage. We'll be right back in just a few minutes, and we'll start chopping up that corned beef. Okay, so we've got the first puff pastry in the oven baking. What we've done, this corned beef isn't left over, but like I said, if you have leftover corned beef, you can use that. We hardly ever have any leftover corned beef. So I pulled a whole one this morning, or actually yesterday, last night. As of this morning, I put it in the crock pot on a low temperature, and it's been cooking in the crock pot all day long. So what we're going to do now is we are going to just kind of slice it down, because we want to make this kind of into crumbles, because as we start putting together our Reuben sandwich, we're going to need it nice and crumbly. So see, after it's cooked all day, it just kind of pulls right apart. No need for cutting, which is always wonderful. Now I will dice this down some more, so it's not so huge. And we just do like that. You just get it diced down, because we will be spreading this all over the puff pastry. Alright, so our first puff pastry is out of the oven. Now once again, you just bake the puff pastry at the temperature that's recommended for whichever brand you happen to purchase. So here it is. Now it's come out of the oven. And you can wait and let it cool, but there's really no need, because the sooner you get this all put together, the sooner everybody can be eating. Now tonight we are using Gouda cheese, and we start with a layer of cheese on the bottom of it. And it's just real simple and fast. Now you can use whatever cheese your family prefers. You could do the true Reuben style and get Swiss. My family loves cheese. Everybody is a cheese connoisseur in this house. So we really love a great Gouda. which is what we're going to use for our bottom layer here. We got our Gouda on. Then we're going to go ahead and add our corned beef. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, wait a minute, why is there no Thousand Island going on here yet? Well, with the puff pastry, as I've pointed out several times, liquids are bad. So you want to wait until you have a barrier for this bottom puff pastry before you put any liquid on. So you get your cheese, you get your corned beef. Like I said, it's just real easy. Get it all spread out. Get it into all the corners. And then once you have your corned beef in a good layer, then go ahead. Then you can go ahead and add some of your Thousand Island dressing if you like. Then I just do a drizzle of it real quick. Not adding too much on this. And then we're going to add some of the sauerkraut. When you open your can or your jar of sauerkraut, do the very best that you can to get as much of the liquid out of it. Once again, because to that bottom puff pastry, liquids can be death. They'll end up nice, all soggy, and just not real good flavor. So if you do everything that you can to get as much liquid out beforehand, then it's better. Now I'm going to stop my sauerkraut at a certain spot here because I have one member in my family who does not like sauerkraut at all. So for her, I try to be kind and always leave a strip. That way when we cut into it, she has that one strip. She doesn't have to try. Because I always have heard the word since she was just a tiny little girl. It's so hard to pick out all the strands of sauerkraut though, Mama. So now she's much older now, but you know, I still kind of get that look from her of, but it's so hard for me to pick out all that sauerkraut that I don't like. So we will leave one entire section so that when we cut into it, that won't have that sauerkraut. Now, we like a lot of meat on ours, and I still have this corned beef. Not that it would go to waste. I'm sure someone could use it in a hash maybe tomorrow morning for breakfast. But we'll go ahead and we'll sprinkle just a little bit more corned beef on top here. And then I think I will probably set the rest of it aside and let somebody make a corned beef hash, homemade corned beef hash, not out of a can, and let them do that for their breakfast tomorrow morning. Then we take the rest of the Thousand Island and we once again drizzle that on top. Then we take a scraper so that we can finish getting the rest of that out of the bowl. There we go. And that looks nice and pretty. Then we take our second cheese, which we are using a Havarti for the top. Put another layer of cheese there. And just like we did with the Gouda on the bottom, just make sure to get the cheese all across the top. Just like that. And then we'll finish off right there. All right, and then one last, because you don't want this to be dry, you want it to still have some liquid, and the top crust will bake better and not absorb all that fluid. So on top of the cheese, you can go ahead and just spread a little more Thousand Island dressing on the top of it so that you don't have, you know, when you bite into a sandwich and there's not enough mayonnaise on it. Well, you can do the same thing with a Reuben if there's not enough Thousand Island on it. So just go ahead and put a little bit more on the top. And then your final step is your second puff pastry. Take that and just unroll it. And you're going to be putting it right on top. So make sure you get it all completely unrolled. And then you just put it down over top of it. Kind of push down into the sides to get a nice little seal going on with it. And then that's it. Then you bake this. I always start with the time of about 15 minutes. It usually goes, the best rule of thumb is to cook until it's golden brown. Your time frame, depending on your oven, is going to be somewhere in the 20 to 25 minute range. So we're going to get this put in the oven so that we can get to eat some Reuben casserole here shortly. Okay, so we've finished baking it, and it's actually sat and cooled for a couple of minutes. Baking time is 20 minutes or 25 depending on your oven. You want this to look nice and golden brown. Give it a few minutes before you cut into it though, and we are going to do a slice. You generally slice across the entire row. And it's actually sliding around, which means we aren't going to have any stickage going on. And cut in half. And then get something to grab hold of this hot pan instead of trying to keep using my hand. See how nicely that slides out of there? That's why making sure to spray it beforehand is very important. And that's what it looks like inside. It's a Reuben sandwich casserole. All that cheese is nice and gooey. And there you go. So we're going to go ahead and eat now because Todd has actually gotten home from work. So we'll see you in our next video coming up real soon. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.